Hi, and welcome to School of Addiction. Tonight's topic, why do I say tonight? This morning's topic is recovering who you were. And it's about learning who you were to become who you are meant to be. So for those who are new to the channel, my name is Ashley Bloxham. I'm a therapist. I specialise in childhood and trauma, and I'm also an addictions counsellor. I've overcame addiction and I've studied it right the way up to PhD level. And I also know what it's like to have loved ones who struggle with addiction. So full 360 view of it. So today's topic is recovering who you are. One of the things when we come out of addiction is that we feel like we don't know who we are anymore. How our whole identity has became the addiction. So one thing that is really good to do is to work out why you became an addict in the first place. There's always a root cause. So we can do this on a broad scale. So we can start looking at why does addiction occur in the first place? Because although it's different for every individual, the research is quite broad of it's usually to do with trauma, childhood trauma or some kind of trauma. And then on top of that, it might be a undiagnosed mental health disorder. So it's good to understand on a broad level, why does addiction occur? And then try and think about, okay, why did it occur for me? And by doing that, what you can then do is say, okay, I've got this information of why, and then you can go to how. How is the stuff that caused the addiction in the first place showing up in my life today? So as a therapist, one of the things that I was trained was to look at the here and now, what's going on in today's life, because what happens is how our childhood was and what was going on with it shapes how we show up today in our relationships, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, the self-belief we've got. So work out, okay, what is that meant for me now? And this is a really good thing to do when you're coming out of recovery, because you're going to be faced with lots of different things and emotions, so you can channel it into, okay, this is what's going on. And then that will give you a roadmap of how to do something differently. So how to make changes in your life, which is going to mean that addiction recovery is more sustainable because you're no longer needing it to numb out whatever's happened beforehand. So yeah, God, that was a bit of a tongue twister phrase. I don't know why I'm struggling so much today. Hi, peace and joy. How are you doing? Nice to see you again. I just broke some of my addiction. I just ate 4 ice cream cones and macaroni salad, and it's 2 a.m. here. Oh, we've all been there, peace and joy, honestly. Food is a really hard addiction. Like, I really struggled with. I think that's been one of the harder ones. So yeah, it is. But I think it's just one thing I have, peace and joy, and I don't know if this is helpful for you, is I do the 80-20 rules. So 80% of what I eat is good and 20% isn't. And what that means is it means that when I fall off the wagon, so if I'm eating things at 2 a.m. in the morning, that shouldn't be, it's in my 20%. So I don't then think, oh, well, I've done that, so I can do it again tomorrow. So yeah, that keeps me that little bit of flexibility, because sometimes if we're just removing something and saying never, that can be a bit overwhelming. And this is why a lot of people in addiction recovery say 1 day at a time. I mean, I didn't break, you said, break recovery. Oh, is that what you're saying? You've just had ice cream instead of the addiction. God, I did not pick that up. Tom's is saying, sorry, I have a question. Yeah, of course, ask a question. If anyone's got any questions around addiction or mental health, just pop them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Hi, See Through the Veil, how you doing again? You're from London area, Kermit's saying. Absolutely not. I am a northerner and proud. Ricardo is saying, good morning, beautiful lady. I'm from San Diego, California, USA. At work right now at Southwest Airlines. Love that for you. How are you doing? Right. Oh, Tom's, why is the beach wet? Because the seaweed. Is that it? I feel like that's the answer. Right, peace and joy. Yes, that's good advice, 80-20. I guess that's what I do for the most part. I am good, and then I go on these binges every few months. Yeah, I'm the same. I get like sugar binges, and I'm just like, no, I'm just not going to allow myself. That can be me 20%, which means I'm using up me 20% quota. So I've got to get back into the 80% now. It's just a little bit of motivation. And I think this is the thing. It's like anytime we fall off the wagon, whether it's addiction, going to the gym, eating, we kind of give ourselves permission to stay off the wagon. And that can be detrimental. Whereas if we say, no, that's just a blip, we need to pick ourselves up, it can be a bit more motivating. And I think sometimes being too rigid can actually be more harmful in the long term. Orlando, this might sound a little revealing. I actually took pills for a condition. I have cold turkey. Is it bad for me to stop my pills? Orlando, it depends what it is. Look, I'm not going to sit here and like pretend to be something I'm not. I went cold turkey off medication I had. The problem with prescription tablets and also alcohol in the mix with that, so benzocaines, alcohol, and some prescription tablets, is it can actually be quite dangerous just to come off them, because not all, but some prescription meds are chemically addictive, which means your body can go into shock when you remove it. So it's really important that you talk to your healthcare professional. And if that, yeah, I would just say talk to them about it. So I went cold turkey off mine, but I spoke to somebody before I did it, just to make sure it was safe. Tom's said because the seaweed. Sharp brain here. Right, watching the Fulton County Prison. I don't know what that is. Hey you, Sadia says, hey you inspire me. Oh, I love that, thank you. What kind of coke do you sniff? I mean, I used to sniff coke. I don't anymore. I stopped smoking cannabis in November 2024 and I stopped smoking cigarettes in mid-June last summer. Love that for you. How's it going? Joes, what's your top tip for people as well? I'm about to quit vaping, and that is the next thing on my list. And I've smoked since I was 12. So I've tried to do it a few times, and I stupidly, even though I know everything that I know, and this is like where a voice comes in your head and it wins. Even when you know everything, I stupidly ended up having a vape because I was like, I'm going on holiday. I'll only vape when I'm on holiday. I'll not do it when I come back. Here we are, nearly ready for me next year's holiday, still vaping. But yeah, have you got any top tips for anyone? Tom's is saying laughter is the best. It absolutely is. Makes you produce oxytocin. Do you know what I do sometimes? Like, so I've got a 4-year-old and I'm going to be real. Sometimes it is painfully boring, so dull. And what I do is I sit there and I'll actually smile, and it makes the experience more enjoyable because then I'm producing oxytocin. So yeah, if you can laugh, even better. Peace and joy. So I guess the addiction is okay. What's driving the addiction? Can I remove the things around me that are addictive by being mindful and making positive choices, and how to create habits? Yeah, has anybody seen the new Diary of a CEO? It was about 3 weeks ago. The person who wrote Atomic Habits, which is a really good book for addiction and just in general. He was on. So he's talking about habits, and he talks about like making them fun. So what he means by that is, I know you said remove the things around you which are addictive, but try and make it fun. So do something fun instead, or try and make it like a little, like, I always like reward myself. So the apps are really good, being like one more day under my belt and just get a little bit of pride in the mix. But I'd say, peace and joy, and anyone listening, it's not just about removing triggers and the addiction. That is really important, but it's also about learning to just get comfortable in your own body, because most people in addiction are trying to escape. They're trying to escape the thoughts, the feelings, their environment, their past. We're trying to escape. So it's making your environment outside of you and internally more comfortable is a big part of addiction recovery, not just removing the trigger and the addiction. Right. Whiskey makes you do crazy things. Drinking beer is okay. I mean, I know people who drink beer every day and they are not okay. Really not okay. It's really sad. But if we're looking at harm reduction, absolutely better to drink beers than spirits, 100%. Michael is saying, I experienced some psychosis while coming off meth. Yeah, drug-induced psychosis is really common. I experienced the same when I came off ketamine one time. So I ended up having a full psychotic episode. I didn't realise I had bipolar, but you don't need to have schizophrenia or bipolar or anything that gives you psychosis to get drug-induced psychosis. And if you think about it, if we're just removing something, like any addiction, our brain, it's going to send us west because our brain chemistry is now dependent on it, you know, and if it's a physical addiction, it's chemically dependent. So there are a lot of side effects, and I would say one of the healthier things to do is to reduce down. The issue with reducing down though, so just like little bit by little bit getting to where you want to be, to abstinent, or for even if that's just for a bit, obviously abstinence doesn't always have to be the answer, but reducing down, the only problem with that is if you haven't got any accountability, it's very easy to not reduce down again. So I'd make sure you've got people around you, some kind of support that's like motivating you. But yeah, that happened to me, Michael. Harold is saying, I'm in open addiction and that's the stupidest stuff I've ever heard. People who don't know anything shouldn't say anything. What does open addiction mean, Harold? Harold, sorry. I was calling you Harold. The thing is, so I know it's not a conventional thing that I'm saying on this channel, but guys, it's backed by research. I've studied it up to PhD level and I've overcame it. So, but what I will say is what works for one person doesn't work for another. So it might just be it's not resonating with you and that's okay, but it's working out what does work for you. But also, you know, one of the biggest approaches to addiction at the moment is feeling like you're failing, you're morally failing, and it's like it's an individual problem, and that is not true. It does not align with the research at all. And this is why you've got people like Gabor Mate, who's done a lot of work around addiction and is trying to change how it's viewed, because it's just fundamentally seen wrong, and it's reflected in policy. So, which again, you know, is actually crazy because all of the research is not in alignment with policy, but it's treated as an individual problem and it's not. So yeah, I'm going to stand on business, Harold. Best cure to addiction is running 15 miles a week. Yeah, if you can do some kind of physical activity, that is really good. Obviously, not everybody can, but if you can do some kind of physical activity, that is probably one of the best things you can do in addiction recovery. And also just anything where you're improving. So I was speaking to someone last night, and what he was doing is he came out with like a huge addiction. I don't want to tell his story, although I feel like it'd be all right. But anyways, he'd had a huge addiction, and he ended up learning beatboxing when he came out of it. And beatboxing, he was like, I've never done it before, and the fact that I'd learned it showed that actually I can do anything I put my mind to it. But equally, it's really good for breath work. So yeah, it's all about controlling your breath, which is great for your nervous system, which is great for addiction recovery. But so is things like running. You have to concentrate on your breath. Gym, martial arts, group sport, anything. Right. How is everyone doing? Mark is saying, I'm doing good. How is everybody else doing? Right, let's see what else. Can you say hi to my friend? He loves your eyes. His name is Dixon Myers. Yes, hello, Dixon. I'm a good psychopath, Bruno. Are you actually though? Because I know somebody who is a diagnosed psychopath. Well, I don't know them personally, but my dad does. So yeah, are you joking or are you not? Right, natural. Oscar Wilde said, if you love something, do it till it kills you. Yeah. Do you know what? My dad, yeah, he's got a job. He's a stamp dealer and he absolutely loves it. And he's like, I'll be doing it till I die. Just find like a hobby and interest or something that you love. And the thing is, let's be real, like, at the moment, when we're in addiction, our hobbies and interests are whatever. My hobby and interest was ketamine, getting off my dial. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have to replace it with something when we're removing it. So having a list of things. So if you're not ready to stop the addiction, what is good is to think about, okay, what am I going to do when I do stop the addiction? So prepare yourself for it, because sometimes we're like, I want to stop, but I'm not, and that feels awful. Whereas if you're doing things in alignment with your addiction recovery, you feel like you're being proactive. And one of the things you can do is think about, okay, I'm going to be removing something that is taking up the majority of my time. So what am I going to replace it with? And think strategically about that. Even get into it first, but just if you're going to start it before your addiction, you remove the addiction, make sure you're doing it sober, whatever it is, because you don't want to associate it with whatever it is that you're doing. Smoked since she was 12, 18, since she was 13. What do you mean, pig? I don't know what you're on about. I quit cannabis in October 2024 too. Life is better clean. Tom Jones, what is the thing you enjoy most about being sober? Does anybody who's in recovery, what's the thing you enjoy most about being clean or sober, whatever you want to call it? I think quitting heroin is easier than cigarettes. Mo said, yeah, I found it really tough when I quit vaping. I've got to admit, I was having like really disturbed sleep, and like I was really irritable. I think the thing is, yeah, and I don't have the motivation as well. When I had a drug addiction, I kind of felt like I need to stop it. Like, it's not acceptable to be in a K-hole. Like, it's not acceptable, like, to live my life either in a K-hole or wanting to be in a K-hole. So, and like, I had this like huge motivation. Whereas with smoking, I keep telling myself things like, well, I've done worse things in my life, and realistically, like, I'm not going to be grateful for smoking when I'm 50 or 80 or whatever. But it is really hard. It's hard to find the motivation and the hook. And that's the thing with addiction. We don't think about the future. We're thinking about now, aren't we? But I'm going to do it. I'm doing an addictions group, which is starting very soon. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I'm going to do quit vaping with you. So any tips, people? Strange science, boredom is not real. Fancy elaborating? I just subscribed. I've been clean 90 days now. Mark Houston, I love that. 90 days is really good as well. You've just got your 3 months. So 3 months means that the cravings should be going down now. I don't know if that's how you're experiencing it. I would say the thing to watch out when you get past 3 months, so when the cravings start to simmer down and you're starting to get back in the swing of things, this is where you can start getting cocky. And I'll just be really careful for that point, so you can get to like, oh, well, I can just do the thing. Now I feel like I've got control over it because I've done it for 3 months. So just be so careful that you don't get cocky in this point, because I think that's one of the biggest slip-ups. Right, Tom's. Step 1, kids, social media, and people that don't know what they're talking about. So on kids, social media, and people that don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what you mean with that. Could you expand on that? I wasn't fully picking up what you're putting down. Are you simultaneously using sign language, or do you just wave your hands or subconsciously? I'm just ADHD. I'm always like faffing my hair or something. Somebody said I look like I've got dancing hands, which I was enjoying. I'm always like picking my coffee up. Someone had mentioned I don't even drink it. I just pick it up and then put it back down again. It's just getting out my hyperactivity. Joe saying you have beautiful bangs. Thank you. I cut them myself. I've had some not so beautiful bangs though by cutting them myself. Joe Mama is saying I'm an alcoholic. Would you like some one-to-one support, Joe? If anyone's wanting some support, by the way, it's free, because I recognise that it's not enough just speaking through a screen. So if anybody would like some support, just go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. It's in my YouTube page, and just send us a message and I'll arrange that. I'm also doing a free group, which is starting very soon. I'm doing it with someone really cool as well. Hi Guy. Oh, I've just seen Guy's message. If you want support from Ashley, go to our website. Yeah. So I feel like there's quite a lot of comments, so I'm going to scroll around and just kind of pick them at random to try and give everyone a fair chance. Duke, I think this is an awesome stream. I've never seen anything like this before. Oh, thank you, Duke. I appreciate that. And Money, love the stream and the idea behind it. Thanks. Yeah. Are you 12-stepping us? Absolutely not, Nicholas. Look, I really want to make this clear. I don't have anything against the 12 steps in the sense of the 12-step program. If you are in addiction, this is more drugs and alcohol, so I don't mean to leave people out who are more other addiction. But if you're in drugs and alcohol addiction, you're mainly going to be hanging around with people who do your addiction because we want to be able to do the thing. So the thing with NA and AA is you're removing yourself and putting yourself in with a group of people who are actively moving away from addiction. So it's really great. And there's a lot of good stuff about it. However, I am not doing the 12-step program because there's also some things that I really don't agree with that doesn't align with psychology. Like, for instance, and I say this all the time, but it really bugs us, is, hi, my name's Ashley and I'm an addict. I am not a fucking addict. My name is Ashley and I'm a recovered addict, and it's took us a lot of hard work to get here, and there ain't no fucking way I'm going back there. So stuff like that. And I think the religious aspect of it, my grandpa was a vicar, but I think it's not religion or faith that I've got an issue with. It's the way that it's moralising that I've got an issue. And people in addiction recovery tend to struggle with a lot of shame because of the addiction and probably before the addiction. So I'm not 12-stepping years, don't worry. I'm just trying to be real and share some bits that I know. Right, Timoth 2.12, women must not be an authority, they must submit to a man. I mean, is that something in the Bible? Or so, I don't know what your quote is there. But they've actually should prove it. There's research that shows that women are actually really good leaders. Because we're good at emotional regulation on a whole compared to men. But I mean, I know I've certainly have been very emotionally dysregulated in my time, that's for sure. Right. Muffle Moose, you can usually tell when somebody used to use drugs, even if they haven't used for years. There's not a mark on you. So people say that to us all the time. The first time I ever told somebody that, like, said out loud that I've had an addiction was this woman, and she was walking towards us, and I had been talking to somebody who had alcohol addiction, and they were like, they'd slid down a shop, and I went to help them, and I was walking across this crossing, and she was like, oh, that's the local addict. I wouldn't talk to her. And I was like, first time I ever said it, I was like, well, I used to be an addict and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I think people think that I don't look like an addict. And the thing is, a lot of functioning addicts don't look like they're addicts. I think we have a stereotype of what somebody looks like when they're struggling addiction, and that's dangerous. But yeah. Right. I'm addicted to undermining men's authority and being alone. How's that working out for you? Lovely Auto Race saying the Bible also said to punish yourselves if they talk back. I don't know the Bible. My grandpa was a vicar. I don't know much of it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It doesn't make sense, does it, really? Like, God made everyone in his own name, but don't be gay. Well, didn't God make you gay? It doesn't make sense to us. I'm not picking up what you're putting down here, whoever wrote that. But I think the thing is, as well, I did religious studies, and I have got faith, I'm spiritual, but I feel like we're not supposed to know. And I think it's just, I got taught in religious studies that it's like fables, and it's like a way of conceptualizing morals in alignment with faith, which I felt resonated a bit better. See Through the Veil. What time and date is the group on, please? I'm still got a few one-to-ones to do this week, and I'm just finding out what availability people have, and I'm going to try and work it around yous. So if you send us a message on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, if you haven't already, then I'll get you signed up, and you can certainly join. And just let us know your availability. I'm going to try my best to be inclusive for everyone. Right, Diego, I plant a seed of weed and I said if it's female, I'm going to smoke, and if it's male, I quit all weed 2026. It was male. So I'm going 1 month and 7 days clean. I love that. I think that was the universe. Universe backing you. I love that though. I always leave things to chance. If I'm not sure, I'll flip a coin or something or do something similar to that. But yeah, how are you finding it, Diego? It's not easy quitting weed as well. We're talking about vaping's really hard, especially if you smoke weed with tobacco. What's it like being a recovered addict and now working as a therapist, ethical and professional considerations? That's a really good question, Ashley. So the thing is, what's really hard, I actually find ethics quite difficult with addiction, because what you need to be able to do is be real. So like, people in addiction aren't going to sit there and listen to you if you're just being like very book smart, do you know what I mean? So you've got to try and get that balance between like being real but also being ethical. It's hard. It's even harder on YouTube as well, because like obviously I'm talking to all of you guys and I'm aware that one, you don't even need public liability insurance to be on YouTube. So like any person could sit and do what I'm doing. But I'm aware that I'm trying to answer through a screen with like one line and stuff, which is why I do all the free one-to-ones and the groups, because it's I think it is quite unethical. But I'd say if you are a therapist and you want to work with addiction, the main thing is harm reduction. So have harm reduction at the heart of it. So don't be thinking I've got to do everything by the book. Be thinking, what's the most harm reduction I could do with this situation? So for example, if somebody's coming to us and they're saying, I'm smoking crack and I'm switching up for weed, don't try and like moralize weed and say don't do weed. Be like, that's great, because realistically that's much less harm than what crack cocaine is going to be for you. Yeah, so it's just, you've got to, yeah, I'd say that's the issue. Anyone says they're addicted to weed has no idea what real addiction is, Green Wizard. Yeah, I don't know, I've seen some people really struggling with weed, like destroyed their life, weed. And look, you don't know what your brain's like. I know people who've like got underlying schizophrenia, so they've then brought out psychosis and like paranoia and stuff for smoking weed and still doing it. So I think there's definitely worse addictions in terms of, if you're looking at it from a broad, like a macro view of addiction. So like there's all different drugs and alcoholic substances are categorized in like worst to least. But I do think there's factors of each drug or each addiction which makes it really difficult. Yeah. And with weed, I think it's the fact it's so socially acceptable and a lot of people do it. I can't walk around without smoking weed. So that's really hard, because then you're going to have triggers in your face all the time. Do you have any studies to back up that person it's getting from the weed, or it could be hereditary? What do you mean by that? A1, can you reword that? Because I wasn't fully understanding what you meant. You can be addicted to anything, yeah. I had someone yesterday telling us that they were addicted to I think so, like if you've got ADHD, you're more likely to have an addictive personality style, because you're just addicted to dopamine. Let's call a spade a spade. We're addicted to dopamine, all of us, every person. And if you've got ADHD, it's going to be worse. But they were telling us they were addicted to watermelon Volvic water. They're like really addicted, right? So yeah, just get some more kosher addictions, guys. Doc, people, they don't know anything about it. Sometimes people take to forget something. 8 years, the last friend or romantic partner, or maybe just life complete ain't no different than other. I don't know if that's your writing or my dyslexia, but I wasn't picking that up, what you were saying. What don't they know anything about, Doc? socially acceptable, what the fuck? Look how accepted alcohol is. But do I agree? Some people, it can flick a switch in some minds. Yeah, and look, if I was going to say what is the worst addiction, I would argue alcohol. Even this is again like, if you look at the category, like the way it's been categorized by someone called David Nutt, I think it's number 4. But I would say it's really hard because it's so socially acceptable. You know, yeah. Alcohol, I would say is the worst. And also, you can die going cold turkey off alcohol. Like it can be fatal. It's yeah, and also what's really weird. So since I've stopped drinking, so like when I've got in taxis and stuff, and I'm saying I'm not drinking, you get like a weird look, like as if like why you're not drinking for, and it's like why is it weird that I'm not drinking? Why do you have to have an explanation for not drinking as well? Like why is that the standard? I think that goes to show just like how hard it is for people with alcohol to tackle it, and I'm actually really grateful that I haven't had an alcohol addiction. I gave up on God for some time, and all the evil forces are playing me. Now I'm zealous for the joy he'd given me, and I'm desperate to get back on him. He's secured all addiction. Faith, do you know, so there's studies, research, because I looked into faith and addiction recovery for my PhD, and the same pathways light up in your brain when you're praying as they do when you're with addiction. So it's the same reward pathway. So it makes sense that a lot of people who are in addiction benefit, like become religious or spiritual. So it can be really helpful to lean in if you are. Yeah. I've gone cold turkey. I used to see shadows. I didn't know I was dangerous at the time though. Yeah, that's the thing, Green Wizard. A lot of people don't know that it's dangerous to go cold turkey off. So alcohol and benzocaines can be fatal, and it's really important that you do it with a professional. But I will be real, so going back to what I said about harm reduction being the most important, if you're not, for whatever reason, going to a professional, which I would always advise, at the very least, research how to do it safely. And it's about reducing down. And I would argue that can be helpful for any addiction, but especially for something like alcohol. And it it can be with prescription meds as well. So yeah. Joseph, yeah, I had a psychotic experience, but weed was my life. I was smoking it for years. Then I got weed on tap as much as I wanted and went crazy on it. Ended up having a psychotic experience. Yeah, this is the thing, Joseph, when people like downplay weed, and I'm not here to say weed is bad at all, but I also, I do know a lot of people have had really negative experiences of weed addiction. I think people don't think it's as bad as what it is. But the thing is, it's like what's bad for one might not be bad for another. So like that's the thing with anything. So like people talk about psychedelics being really good for addiction recovery, and the research does say that. But if you don't know if you've got underlying schizophrenia or something, I know somebody who's been sectioned for that. So yeah. And same with like Mandy and stuff. What was I addicted to? So I was addicted to Ket. That was the one that really got us. That was the scary one. But what I learned after was that with my psychiatrist, I was just addicted to mind-altering substances. So the whole of my 20s and early 30s, there just wasn't a day I was sober. I was wrecked on something. I've never done hard drugs like crack or heroin. But yeah, just something all the time. But ketamine was it was horrendous. I had a horrendous addiction to ketamine, to the point where I relapsed when I was pregnant. I relapsed twice in the first year of my son's life. My bladder was getting fucked, and yeah, it was just really horrible. Is kratom legal there? I don't know what kratom is. I mean ketamine, by the way. When I'm saying ket, like that's a slang for ketamine. I don't know what kratom is. I'm just going to scroll around to the middle. X-Power, hi Ashley, greetings from California. I recommended your channel to many friends on YouTube that have struggles with addictions. You're doing amazing work. Thank you, X Power. I love that. I'm glad it's helpful. Right, scroll around. So Daz is saying, hi, I was on heroin for nearly 30 years, been clean for 6 years now. Weed fucked my head up more than any drug I'd taken. Yeah, see, this is the debate. Like, some people are like, so I know people who have replaced like serious addiction, like seriously damaging addictions with weed. And I'm just like, I'm buzzing that you've been able to do that. Like, I'm really happy for you. But for some people, it can be really dangerous. And it's like, I think it's because it affects your brain. Because when I smoke weed, I go really paranoid and skitsy. And I think it's because I've got a really overly imaginative brain. It really sends us west. So yeah, I think it's one of them things, but it's like anything. Like, I mean, I used to be addicted to ketamine, and so many people like, I hate that. I think everyone is different, and the thing with substances is it just affects our brain chemistry. So everyone's brain chemistry is different. Benji's saying, thanks for opening up and being honest. You're welcome. I've got to a point now where I don't really mind about talking about it, but thank you. I'm going sober, but without drugs, I don't know how to live life. How long have I been sober, Joseph? So it'll be nearly 4 years. So next month, 3rd of February, it'll be 4 years. Yeah, so this is really common. So Joseph is saying, I've got sober, but I don't know how to live my life. Yeah, one of the things with addiction is we focus a lot on removing the addiction, and it's going to services to learn techniques on how to remove the addiction and etc. But it's not about removing the addiction. Like, that is a part of it. But it's really important that we learn about why do I have the addiction in the first place, and try to undo go to the root cause. So if you're not sure how to live life, it's probably because the reason why you started having the addiction in the first place is now rearing its head to the surface. So for me, when I got sober, I just started getting diagnosed left, right and centre with disorders. So it might be that there's something like that going on. But also it might be that you've had stuff in your childhood and that's just impacting your ability to feel connected to people in life, or whatever it is. So that's delving into that. Equally, let's be real. The addiction that we've got is bringing us some level of joy. You know what? Like, nobody's addicted to something because it's shit. Like, you're not going to say, I hate this thing, therefore I'm going to commit to taking it for the rest of my life. Now, don't get us wrong, it gets to that point where, for a lot of people, where we're like, now I hate it because it's ruining my life. So if you're taking away the thing that brings you the most joy, then you need to make sure that the life that you're now left with is also bringing you joy. So it's really important to take stock of your environment. So I mean, your job, how you're spending your time, like hobbies, interests. I know that sounds lame, but it's super important. The people, who are the people in your life? So yeah, I would say that's probably something that you've got to work on, Joseph. And I'm happy to do a one-to-one with you. Right. Ashley is saying, try to remember how else you used to get dopamine before your addiction. This is what I'm doing and I'm 7 days sober. Yeah, that's such good advice, Ashley. So I say, like, to build on that, do a dopamine list. So literally write them down so you've got it in your head ready, like what gives us dopamine. And another thing, so in the first 3 weeks, dopamine's going to be fucked in your brain. So it's good to do things which give you little hits of dopamine, but also try and lean into oxytocin. So oxytocin is another feel-good hormone, and that's about making yourself really comfortable. So like, you could do havening, which makes you produce oxytocin, which is like stroking your cheeks like this, or your hands like that, or you can do it on your arms like that. Like if you just sit and do that with your arms, it'll instantly make you produce oxytocin and feel relaxed. If you've got pets, snuggle in and stroke your pets. If you've got a partner, get all snuggly with them if you can bear to be around them. Like obviously it's quite a tough time, but look into different ways that you can produce oxytocin and lean into that as well. GH is saying, Tommy, your mind is a powerful tool. Yeah, I don't know who, oh, Tommy, I got injured and had surgery since then, drugs are the escape. Yeah, that makes sense, Tommy. And, you know, this is what I'm saying, there's always a cause of addiction. So having an injury, that's like really traumatic. And no wonders why you're using drugs to escape. Tommy Gunn, if you want to have a one-to-one and join the group, you can. I would, yeah, I'm gonna leave that and say if you want to do one-to-one, because I was just gonna try and answer it, but I don't have much information about what exactly went on with you to try and hash out something. But what I will say is that that's very understandable and very textbook. So I think the main thing as well is like, when you're using drugs to escape, don't shame yourself for that, but let's not stay stuck there. Right, Doc. Now this trucks can go heavier through the years of Buzz life is also gotten heavier. I'm not going to store no answered trucks that spend the only thing that's ever left me. What do you mean by trucks? Is that what do you mean by trucks? Is that like an analogy? Let's be realistic, Doc said. Is my life, I could do whatever I want with that. If no one is going with me through this pain, tell me what to do. I mean, one thing I will say, if you've been in addiction, like if you can do that and get out of that, you can fucking do anything. So I fully agree, you can do whatever you want with your life. Like if you can do that, you can do anything you put your mind to. So I would say channel that energy into something, creating something or mastering a skill or something like that. But when you're saying this pain, tell me what to do, what do you mean by that? Like how to get through pain? Do you mean physical pain or emotional pain? Let us know a little bit more about that, Doc, and I'll try my best to respond. Duke is saying a lot of recovering addicts hit the gym. That's what worked for me, but everyone's different. Yeah. I had somebody who's just Strava, and they were saying basically everyone on Strava is pretty much a recovering addict. Like if you can do something where you're getting dopamine and you're getting it in a healthy way, like anything physical exercise is going to do that in abundance. It's really good. So yeah. And also you're racking up wins, like anything in addiction, you're almost like going downhill. Like you're witnessing yourself go downhill. Every time you say you want to stop and you don't, you feel like you're failing. And you just start to have less and less confidence in yourself, in your ability, in your willpower. So when you come out of it, if you can do something where you, instead of just slowly letting yourself down, you're achieving, it's really good for morale. And you start to feel like, oh, I can do something that I put my mind to. And alongside that, you're also being a recovered addict, which again, it's like, wow, I've done this and I'm doing that. And it's really good for boosting self-esteem. Shout out, it's my birthday, Buttercup. Happy birthday, Grady. How old, dare I ask? Why is it that when you are someone who feels so deeply, you find it hard to express things or talk in a simple way? It feels like a betrayal to the soul. Yeah, I know how you feel. I'm a deep feeler. I think that was part of my addiction as well. Like, I think there's a lot of factors which contributed to it. But I'm very sensitive. And it is hard to express things in a simple way. I'm trying to learn to do it on this channel. Yeah, it is hard. I don't know the answer of why though. I just identify. Sober now for 5 months off fentanyl. Fucking hell, fentanyl. I bet that was really solid. What would you say, Carlos, to anyone who's in that early stages of recovery? What's been helpful for you? That is unreal though. I'm buzzing for you. Bless you for trying to help others. No, thank you, Shreddy Life. Richard Guy, which substances were you addicted to? So ketamine was my drug of choice. Jason saying, I just feel broken all the time. I'm so sorry about that you're feeling like that. I would say something, if somebody's feeling just broken all the time, and again, like if you're coming out of addiction recovery, or even another person who said that they just feel like it doesn't end, one of the best things that we can do, which is a daily practice, set yourself a deal, I'm going to practice this every day, is learning to get comfortable in your emotions. Because if you get comfortable in your emotions and like regulating your emotions, then what you can do is start to deal with the reasons why you're feeling broken head on. So first of all, get comfortable with emotional regulation, and you can practice emotional regulation. The second thing is learn to break down shame. So a good way to tell if you are shaming yourself and you have a poor relationship with yourself is the language you use. Like, language is so telling. So do you say words which are negative, like negative self-talk? And if you are, that is what we could do there is something simple, is change the language that you use. So don't call yourself broken. Just call yourself like, okay, I'm trying to repair myself, like flip it on its head. So just, I know it's two things which don't seem that big of a deal, but changing your self-talk, like the language you use towards yourself, and your emotional regulation is going to help you be able to deal with the stuff which is making you feel broken a lot better. But I'm happy to do a one-to-one with you and get you to the right places to find the right support. Can you please block Trey? Really annoying. The thing with Trey is, so Trey's a troll. Let's call a troll a troll. But actually he's actually helping us, because what he's doing is he's driving me channel out to other people, because he's showing that he's like putting activity in me things. So he's actually somebody he's probably commenting more than most, so he's actually probably doing the most of the legwork for me channel. So thank you, Trey. You're a nice guy. Yeah, say something nice and positive. This is a good little group of people. Anyways, I lost everything while on fentanyl, seeing it come back little bit by little bit, and no more daily withdrawals, able to enjoy life, not high. I couldn't ever picture to enjoy life not high when I was addicted. Yeah, that's what I love. This is why I'll never go back to addiction. Like, I love the little things in life, and I'm so grateful that I love the little things in life. So I've got a question for you then, because I think this is probably going to be helpful to people, Carlos. What did you do to be able to love the little things in life? And did you practice mindfulness? Because that's what I did. I started to just stop and use like mindfulness. So like actually stopping and, you know, just little things like, this sounds so lame, but like going out and just like stopping, like feeling the cold on my cheeks and like how that actually feels, and reminding myself like I'm not numb, like I can actually feel the cold on my skin and enjoy it. Little things like that really help me. So Richard Guy is saying, what are the small things in life you value? Little things like that, feeling alive. So just anything where I feel alive. Or I always like practice gratitude in, I think this has helped us as well in my addiction recovery massively. So I stop and actively think about the things that I'm grateful for whilst they're happening. So like my best friend, like we'll be doing something to make us laugh, and I'll just take a little second to stop and be like, I love this girl. Like, this girl brings me so much fucking happiness. And then I'll say it out loud to her. And I think that about my son. I think that about like how beautiful nature is, and just constantly taking a second when something great happens to remind myself. And I genuinely think that has rewired my brain in a way where I'm so grateful for life and the little things. And that has been, I would say, possibly one of the top 3 things I've done for sustainable addiction recovery. Because now I love those little things so much that I wouldn't dare throw them down the drain for me addiction. Attila is saying, I've made myself get sober with no help from friends but still relapse. Do you want a one-to-one, Attila? Please just go on my, it's free of charge, but please go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. Yeah, so when we're relapsing, I would say one of a few things could be happening, and I don't know your situation, so I'm just going to be stabbing in the dark here, but just I've noticed somebody else has said something about feeling empty, so, and from fentanyl addiction. So if we're relapsing, usually I would say for we'll do like, I'll just break it down. So for some people, they've removed the addiction and what they're left with is not a great life. So if your life is shit and like you don't have good people in your life, you don't have things you enjoy in your life, you don't know how to appreciate life, then you've got undiagnosed traumas or something, which is like meaning if you've left like trauma unchecked or you've got undiagnosed mental health, like you're not going to enjoy your own thoughts, so your environment is shit, it's going to be more appealing to go back to the addiction. So it's really important that we're working on our internal and external environment. So our mind and whatever we're doing throughout our day and who we're doing it with, that's so important that we take stock of that and we make changes, because if the drug is more, or the substance or the addiction is more appealing than your life, you're going to relapse. The second thing I would say with relapse is triggers. So are you still surrounding yourself with people who still do the thing that you're addicted to? Because I could not have someone doing ketamine in front of us, even 4 years sober, and not get tempted, especially if I'm having a bad day. So I have to remove triggers, and often that looks like the people in our life. So that's another reason. Another one might be that we're getting cocky. I can do the thing. No, you can't. No, you can't. But I would say from what you've said that you're not in that camp. And the other reason why you might be relapsing could be undiagnosed mental health disorder. So if you've got something that makes it impulsive, you're more likely to relapse. So ADHD, bipolar. So again, it's worth exploring that. And you can find out, if you're not sure if you've got mental health disorders, nearly all of them, you can do screening tests, free screening tests online. Just type in free screening tests for whatever it is, BPD, bipolar. You can do it on the Bipolar UK website. That's really accurate. ADHD. And although it's not a diagnostic tool, what it can do is give you an idea, which I'd say is really important to understand if there's something underlying with addiction. And finally, another reason why you might be struggling with addiction recovery, relapse, is because you're not able to regulate your emotions and your nervous system. So one thing you can start today is learning how to regulate your nervous system and your emotions. And you can practice it every day. It's a skill, both of them. And they're two separate things, but they're linking. So yeah. Does any of them like hit home with you? So Carlos, so as for those who are new, but I'm going to end soon because I'm starting to get tired. But Carlos said, I asked him what helped you enjoy life, the little things in life, which has helped with addiction recovery. And he said, going out with my family, my son on walks, or things I really loved enjoying it being sober. And I had a quick fentanyl cold turkey. It sucked, suffered for months. I relapsed 4 times, but the fight was worth it. Yeah, do you know what it is, Carlos? I think the majority of people who who have successfully beat addiction recovery. It's not just removing the addiction, it's enjoying life. And I would say that is pretty much the gold standard. Learning to enjoy the little things and be grateful for them. And I don't know anyone who hasn't relapsed. Like, I know there's unicorns out there who haven't relapsed in addiction recovery, but the majority of people do relapse. And it's about, if we relapse, so going back to what the other person had said, I can't remember who it was, but going back to relapse, if you relapse, you're at a crossroads. So you get to say, okay, I've relapsed, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to pick myself up again. But what did I learn? So look at what happened before the relapse. Why did I relapse? And really sit and think about it so that you can learn the lesson and protect yourself from it in the future. So use it as data, not as a reason to beat yourself up. And that data that you've learned from that relapse might be what helps you sustain recovery and not relapse again. So see it as a positive. I've learned something here, which is going to be data, which is going to help us do it bigger and better the next time. Right, so Justin, say bottle of water. I don't say it the same way that you're asking us to say it. Solitude, are we thinking about the same CBT? What Solitude said. I wish to comment that emotional regulation and the entire CBT therapy is not compatible for people who have to deal with war in survival mode, like in my case and other brown people. So, yeah, I would agree that, so I used to work with veterans and I was a head of counselling for veterans in this charity. And the majority of clients that I had, I would have to be real and say, you need something more stronger than this. But what I will say is emotional regulation and also nervous system regulation together, so two things together, if you can learn to do that and CBT, what you can do is stabilise yourself. I wouldn't say CBT, let's get rid of CBT. CBT shite. It has its place, but as a standalone thing, no, it's shite. But anyways, emotional regulation and nervous system regulation is going to be good, because what that'll help you learn how to control how you're feeling, which is really good for PTSD. So as somebody who's overcame post-traumatic stress disorder, like having PTSD flashbacks, etc., that has been really helpful. So it's not the end game, but if you think of it like stabilizing yourself so that you can deal with the trauma. But yeah, I agree, CBT alone isn't enough for repeated trauma. So I'm gonna go because I'm really tired. But yeah, sorry, I'm just reading what somebody's saying. Are you a therapist? Yeah, I am. I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist and I specialise in addictions and also childhood and trauma. So yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna go. I'm really tired. I hope that I've got something out of today. If I haven't picked up your comments, please go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, because I've had quite a few comments and I will reply to everyone. It might take a few days, so don't freak out if I don't reply straight away. And also, yeah, Mohammed, you're saying, do you know about social anxiety? So yeah, I'll do a one-to-one with you around social anxiety. I'm happy to do that. If anyone wants a one-to-one who's really struggling, it's all free of charge. Just go on my website. I'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m, 9 p.m. GMT time. And if anyone can give us a subscribe, that's a super free way to help my channel. I appreciate that. But if not, just thanks for joining. I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Yeah, everything. She's from the UK, sometimes sounds Scottish. I don't know how. I don't know how, but I do, apparently. Anyway, see you later. Bye.